Hi, so this lesson we're going to be looking at Unit 2.3 now, producing robust programs. I know it seems we've leaped from 1.6 to 2.3, but remember that 2.1 and 2.2 are mostly coding based. So you learn those by Python, which we've done in class. They're not really sort of theory based. So 2.3, one of them in this section is about producing robust programs. And the word robust means that the program is able to take a hit. That's what robust means. It's strong and sturdy. So in terms of programming, it means that the program's not going to crash, it's going to work as intended, it's not going to be hackable, and things of that kind. So let's go on. Right, so there we go. This section we're going to look at basically not just making programs that are robust, but thinking the whole design process is about how can you make a program that can't be hacked. What are the likely ways people would try and attack it? So just a little thing. First of all, watch this video. Now I'm not going to show it on here because it'll probably get YouTube struck down or something because it's a link to another YouTube video. So if you just go onto the Teams bit, the video will be there. You click on it and you watch it and then come back here. Or you may have already watched it first because I'll probably say watch this first. So basically, let's talk about that Sony hack. So, and it was Xbox as well. But basically, they got DDoSed, and that is actually quite a difficult one to stop. DDoSing, which you should know because we have studied it, is where distributed denial of service, where essentially the hackers, normally through the use of some sort of virus, get loads of computers to talk to the Sony servers, and then because they're just talking to them, like pinging them, like trying to log in, etc., the server can't handle the sudden influx of people and it crashes. It is quite difficult to stop. One thing you can do is if you get repeated attempts from the same address, you can filter them out so they're allowed 1 or 2 attempts, and then that IP address might be blocked for a minute. Even 30 seconds is a lot when you're talking about trying to bring down the server. But then not too much to a user who's messed up their login. Maybe after 5 attempts they get a 30-second ban to try again or something. So, and it's not just a username account; it'd be the IP gets a ban. But that's something they could do. So it's difficult to do that. But Sony will have predicted this as an attack, and hopefully will have had something against it. They've not been very good in the past, Sony. But there we go. So we're going to look at these keywords today. So robustness I've talked about. Misuse you should know is that people deliberately misusing it. Defensive design is just thinking about how to design your program to not be allowed to be abused. And authentication is how can you ensure that the people that are using the program are the correct people. Okay. So anticipating misuse. Okay. So defensive program design will consider and anticipate misuse. That might be in the form of a brute force attack like Sony, or it might be in other forms of just misusing some social media. So many programs, for example, and systems will only allow the user to enter the program password 3 or 4 times before it locks out the system. This just stops people sort of brute force hacking their way into the system by trying loads of different usernames and passwords. So that's one simple way that you can anticipate misuse. Okay. Another good example of this is Twitter, for example. If you try to retweet the same tweet, it will get removed. Okay, so it stops you mass tweeting people, which is one obviously form of like spam that could be done over Twitter. So yeah, that's what anticipated misuse is. They'll design the program thinking about how they can stop people doing any misuse. Right, authentication. You should know what this is. It's basically coding a method to check that the user is the person they say they are. So the simplest method is username and password. If they match, they're let in. If they're not, they are not let in. But that's obviously not the only thing you can do. So you've then got something called two-factor authentication, which is often used for banking. Although some apps, some games I know, like World of Warcraft, have a two-factor authentication enabled. And so basically, what will happen here is there are many ways to do it, but this is the most normal way. When they log in, the system will give them some number. They have to enter this number on an app. The app will respond with a code back, and then you type that code in. And the reason this is a lot better is because it requires the person to have they can't just brute force it because that code will change every single time. So they need to enter the username and password, and get the updated code with the app, and they'll need to put that in an app, and the app will be quite secure. It'll be encrypted. Um, with banking, sometimes it's even linked to your card, so you have to actually have the card in the machine to do it. Although you can do it on the phone nowadays with more modern banking. So yeah, that's called two-factor authentication. I think World of Warcraft sell like a little device that you link to your account, and it has just rotating numbers on it. And so like this device um, that was sent to you is unique. So basically, it's set to a random. It randomly generates numbers every minute, and that those numbers are unique to you. So when you log in, you've got to type the numbers that are unique to you, and only Blizzard will know what numbers you should have. So anyway, that's one way of doing authentication. Another one, which is biometric, which means bio being like biology, and metric meaning to measure. So this could include use of a fingerprint or eye or face scan to log in. There are a lot of people that fear the storage of biometric data due to privacy issues, but I think that's becoming more common now. So obviously, if you all use this on your phone, you open your phone up, it looks at your ugly face like mine, and it unlocks the phone. So this is something that you could do. So there you go. That is what biometric is. Okay. So just lastly, um, authentication is just a means of identifying a user before they can access a program. It adds a level of security to the system. The only disadvantage to too much authentication is that it can put users off. And I'll tell you, it is true because I have 3 bank accounts on different banks because it's quite common to do that. And one of my apps, you can log in with a fingerprint. The other 2 are much more of a pain, and so I basically now do most of my banking through the one that I could just fingerprint because it's so annoying to do the identification on the others. So whilst I know that's annoying because it's less secure, but it does mean I use it the most. So too much authentication can actually cause users to not want to use it. And my wife used to work in a bank, and they used to have a lot of authentication when they logged in. And so some of the more elderly members of staff would write down the stuff on a piece of paper on their desk because there was so much authentication. And then because there was so much, they wrote all of it down. So if they walked in and looked at a desk, all the login details were there. Whereas if they just had one password to remember, they might have just remembered it rather than writing it down. But anyway, yeah, have a go at this and then look at the worksheet and fill it in. It's quite obvious what you've got to do, and good luck.